notably as regards the challenges faced in the US. So the current phase of this new age industrial revolution is characterized by technological advance, with AI being decades in the making, but most visibly salient nowadays because it has gained widespread reach via generative AI, large language models, and everyday AI application across all industry sectors. But the challenges of an already existing digital divide are rendered more acute as regards the skills gap, notably in the areas relevant to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And our youth need to upskill in order to adapt flexibility to a shifting employment landscape. I'm going to solicit the views of our panel so that they may bring to us the angles that their own experience affords us in how to best think about and address the challenges of this skills gap in our present day of age. I ask of our panelists, as the time imparted for our panel is very limited, to try to be as concise as possible, each taking 3 to 4 minutes to frame their initial angle of our topic. Let me start with Ms. Samia Melhem, the lead policy specialist on digital development at the World Bank Group, an institution that has long rung the alarm bell on the digital divide globally, but also within countries and societies, to provide us with the first remarks about this. Samia, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much, Ricardo and Takrim, for inviting me here. It's a real honor, especially to talk about my favorite topic, which is not only artificial intelligence, but digital transformation of our society, because this is exactly what we're witnessing. And those of us who were old enough, like me, to come here and study, we studied AI in the late 80s. And at that time, there wasn't all that data that we have today. Today, after like 40 years of digitization of government, private sector, our private life through social media, of course, the opportunities for AI to really help us, jumpstart our own development are huge. But so are also the issues. From the World Bank perspective, when I started, we were talking about the next 7 billion people to be connected. Today, we've done a good job. We have around 2.5 billion out of the 8.5 fellow people living on this planet that are not connected. But that is still huge. 2.5 billion people don't have access to everything that got us here today, from the Uber to everything else you use. And that's really worrying for not only the World Bank, but for the future of society, especially as the previous speaker said, Nadia said, we are all connected. The borders, the cultures are all becoming kind of global in that new society where digital is really the key driver. So at the World Bank, we focus on 3 points, and I can come back to these later. We focus on connectivity. We invest big time in providing telecom infrastructure to countries where today, people pay almost half their salaries to get their data plan. So digital infrastructure. The second one is digitizing of government. Is it crazy or not that today in the same country, you can Uber Eat and at the same time, you have to go and fill 10 forms to get a simple ask or transaction from your government. So digitalization of government in the right way, while really keeping the data privacy and the consumer protection and making services better at par with private sector services is key. The third, and the most important for this panel, is digital skills. We are seeing the digital divide creating a digital skills divide. And we are seeing countries, low-income countries, poorer countries, really left behind in this huge job revolution we're seeing today, where you hear of kids, friends of your kids, who didn't even go to university and make $250,000 starting salary at Meta, at all these big companies, or creating their own startups. So the big concern of the World Bank is to really distribute all that knowledge, all that skills more equally. And the good news is there are jobs. There are 4 million cybersecurity jobs currently unfilled. There are millions of jobs just in the data science. Professor would know better than I do about this. And these are sitting unfilled. So think about it, how we can collectively, in partnership with academia, with the STEM, make it easier, more accessible, more attractive, frankly, to the young people we have so that they are studying skills that will be useful and not obsolete. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Samia, very much. Now I'd like to call Mr. Nehme Taouk to share his insights by providing us a historical perspective into AI and technology evolutions from the vantage point he has had in the private corporate sector, as well as the societal impacts of these evolutions that he has been observing over time and in many areas, such as the already well-established sector of logistic supply chain management and other strategic business sectors. Mr. Taouk, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Mr. Ricardo, and it's a pleasure. Artificial intelligence today is a hot subject because it becomes accessible to a major number of population, but it's not new. We use artificial intelligence early 1980, 1990, but people now, they talk about artificial intelligence. And I will just remind you about the all coming new revolution on anything. It comes with always with the bad predictions. If I just remind you about facts that things coming that we, in this revolution, we do not need anymore the human and the humanity, and it justified that it is not good. I have a quotes from my mom from Cherry. She always told me that always serve the coffee when it is settled down, not when it is boiled, because when it's boiled, it's not good. Take it to settle down, and once it's clear, serve the coffee. So if you imagine when we started 2-3 years before on the public about artificial intelligence, so we do not need any script, any document, any book, any journalist, so we replace everything. And it comes to justify that it's not true. And if you imagine a back of history when the machinery comes, we do not need any workers. When computers come, we do not need any thinkers. When internet comes, when mobile, when it comes this, what we call now, it's artificial intelligence. Just to remind you, it is, in humanity, we start by what we call a natural intelligence. And in the West, they discover, I mentioned the word, the West, they discovered the emotional intelligence, because at the beginning, we used to measure only by IQ. And then they discover whatever they need in this artificial intelligence. But I think it's true that we need to come back to emotional intelligence and natural intelligence. When we need to have this kind of artificial intelligence today, when we started, I think now it's like the coffee, it's start to settle down. And we understand where we can go with the artificial intelligence, because we have what we call the horizontal artificial intelligence, and we have what we call the vertical artificial intelligence, and deeply vertical artificial intelligence. On horizontal, I think all the people that they used to use Google as search engine, now in every new engines, you have what we call the deep search engine, which is far beyond what we can call about Google search engine. And 95% of people now, they use ChatGPT or Gemini like a Google, because they say they use artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is a different animal if we like to go. But now if you go deeply in artificial intelligence, go for anything, go for language, go for science, go for medicine, go for cybersecurity, go for geospatial, go for simplified government work. It's different than what we can imagine. And I believe in that we need to give what artificial intelligence deserves today after what we call the coffee is settled down. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taouk. And next is Dr. Rana Quraisihi, whom I am hoping will shed some light on our topic through experience she has wearing already 3 different hats, and who, or at least actually, and who, while cognizant of the emerging issues surrounding AI, can illustrate how this skills gap issue goes well beyond AI itself and across technology innovation domain. Dr. Rana, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's really, can you hear me? Yeah, it's really, really, really a pleasure to be here. I am just enjoying this so much. So, I wanted to talk about how, just working at the cutting edge of molecular biology and starting a biotech company, I would have thought that this AI transformation would be very different. But what I'm actually sort of finding is not that different from a lot of other types of transformative activities I've been involved with in various entrepreneurial and not-for-profit hats. I wanted to sort of give you 3 examples. So, for example, I'm involved in a school called the Marcy Lab School, which was started in New York and is a program that takes young students, high school students, and brings them into a 1-year program. And it's meant to be an alternative to college for kids from very, very socially deprived backgrounds. And it trains them for a year in AI, and then it places these students in jobs, and the average salary is well over $100,000. So you're talking about kids who are like around 20 or younger, who are earning $100,000, and often this is enough to actually lift their families out of poverty. And the fact that you can actually take kids from sort of very impoverished backgrounds, but with a good sort of natural and emotional also intelligence, and just make this thing so transformative. I think we've already got many examples of that. It's just society's ability to make it happen that's important. The other thing, for example, in my own field of molecular biology is, as you see more and more biotech entrepreneurship and more ideas emerging from science, and in my group, we have started, for example, for PhD students, a program that teaches them business skills, and that has been enormously successful and is growing sort of nationwide. So now there's a sort of nationwide organization for PhDs called Nucleate, which where you can join and voluntarily learn things. So that's kind of another sort of training, job skill switching program for a more educated audience. And then finally, just to give an example from a really impoverished kind of an area, I'm also part of an advisory board for an organization called Prava, which is a healthcare organization in Bangladesh. So the problem in Bangladesh was that there were quite a few doctors, but they practiced separately in isolated manner, and patients would go there, and the doctors were educated in medicine, and they would you've got this disease, go take these pills, no explanation. So Prava built a very customer-focused medical model. So they trained their doctors a lot more in social skills, in communication. They said a minimum amount of time a doctor actually had to interact with a patient, and things like that, which was really transformative. And then the other thing they're doing, which really then combines AI with some of the traditional transformative things, is that they're also bringing a lot of telemedicine, because in these kind of countries, a lot of people have access to the internet, and the more access they have, the more telemedicine you can provide, and the more information. So that really kind of brings everything together. So for me personally, I don't feel that this is going to be as transformative in any fundamental way than other transformations we've seen. Maybe the pace will be a little faster in general of transformations, but we have to adapt as a society, and I think there are many ways to do it.
Thank you so much. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So Nicola Yammine is with us today, and I'm hoping he will provide us insights from the inference between academia and the professional realm, not least as regards professional development, training, and STEM higher education trends that can address the challenges of the tech skills gap. Please, the floor.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ricardo, and all of the CREAM team for having this TechMind event. I believe that this gap has to be seen as a signal that the current or the traditional education system is outdated, and it's not responding to the pace and the need of the artificial intelligence and how the technology is advancing. So the first thing is to understand that this is seen as a result of the big bridges that exist and how we need to focus on building those different bridges, not only between the academia and the companies or what the market is looking for, but also between generations. There are bridges that need to be tackled and faced to decrease that gap. And understanding that the current or the traditional curriculum or degree system that we faced in the educational system, in the case particularly of Venezuela or many Latin American countries or emerging economies, it's outdated because at the end you are focusing on studying a degree that at the end it's not being applied on any other job opportunity you're looking or professional opportunity you're looking to improve or increase your professional future. So at the end, you are having degrees that are not responding to the moment we're living. So there's a big gap that it's a result of not being connected what the university is offering and what the students or the people are looking through the jobs opportunities. So I believe that particularly in the cases of many emerging economies or countries underdeveloped, that they must focus on how they can reduce that bridge, understanding that you might need to focus more on what is urgent rather than what is important in the issues that tackles each of a country, what problems they might face. In the case of Venezuela, because it's a university I come from, I work in the Office of Alumni, but I'm also a professor, you might see that there's a migration from the orientation of a traditional degree to more executive certifications, where students are looking for a more short way of learning, not something that will take a long period of time, so that you will be able to learn more things in a faster way, being able to learn different things in a faster way. So this is an opportunity for the students and for the universities to give tools and give the AI a way of how you can improve your capacities, your objective by using them as a tool to put that in a better way or being able to achieve better goals. But that's in a way of how we can use the AI. Most of people, for example, in my country, when you talk about AI, it's satanized. I mean, it's like you cannot use AI because that will change everything and your job will be, if you're doing an essay, that will be something that it's not yours. But if you use the AI to decrease the time you invest on maybe a PowerPoint presentation or maybe on grasping some bullet points to understand a specific topic, that you can use that on your different aspects of your career, it will help to decrease the time to improve the objective. And the last comment I will share is that regarding STEM, I believe that the most important thing is not just about focusing on a math or a robotic or a coding system. It's about how you can make students understand a way of thinking as a system designer, as a problem solver, as a policymaker, as making the STEM education more adaptable in a more different curriculum that can make your education process respond to the time we're living in the age of AI.
Thank you very much, Nicola. So now we are going to come to the most fun part of our panel, which is opening it to the questions. And please, we are open, our panelists are open to any question. So
we are all we're all familiar with the Middle Eastern countries. We have a massive unskilled labor force. That the AI is coming in. You know, what is the World Bank thinking? What's going to happen in Egypt, where you have millions of people that are totally disconnected? You have technology coming in, eliminating a lot of these jobs. What are the governments doing? What is the World Bank doing to fix these issues? And I would add Algeria, Morocco, I mean, Sudan, etc., Syria.
Honestly, this is what my whole team does in answer to yours. The answer is complex. Governments are doing a lot. Egypt is a very good example. Creating knowledge hubs, partnering with outside big companies through World Bank loans or grants. Is it enough? This is a good question. And a lot of these projects take a long time to yield results. I give you just a very brief answer, more at the global, but also for MENA, for the Middle East and Northern Africa. We've done these studies on digital skills and the gaps. More and more, we're pushing for jobs now. Our new mandate with our president is jobs. We all know that jobs are the key to development. We expect that by 2030, 1.2 billion young kids out of the 9 billion population will be either employed or seeking jobs. So your question is super, super relevant. Other studies that we've done with the World Economic Forum shows true. Couple jobs will be, I think it's around 24%. 24% of jobs will be obsolete, eliminated, but a couple more in terms of percentage, I think 6% more will be created. And if we think about it, a lot of the jobs we have right now did not exist 30 or 40 years ago. We expect the same at an accelerated rate. We have to invest in education. So a lot of the projects from the World Bank are either supporting ministers of digital economy to create tech hubs, to bring in investors, to partner with private sector, local, but also regional, international, to create local jobs. And we see a lot of jobs in these countries, especially low and middle income, in digitization. Anything from data collection, data curation, in Arabic, very little Arabic content. Also, the unspoken jobs that nobody talks about that I want to attract attention on is everything that has to do with maintenance, operation, hardware repair. For every 50 devices that we use, according to Gartner Group, one job in maintenance and operation is created. We don't talk about them. They're not sexy. They're the electrician. They're the wire installer. They're the guy that comes when you have a problem. These jobs are being created. Are they valued enough? Not really. And I think, to your point, there's a lot that can be done with international organization, ministries of labor, ministries of digital economy, and we have such partnership in countries like Morocco, for example, in countries like Egypt, where we are really trying to push all of them working together. My last point is, unfortunately, with all the conflict in the Middle East, and we cannot ignore that, job creation has not been the focus, even though it should be, because having the youth employed, making a decent living is a key factor for peace and prosperity. And that's a message we're trying to push along, as well as peace, reconstruction, key to prosperity. I hope I answered a bit your question.
May I just add one more thing to an institution like the World Bank? I think from my humble experience in the region, I think the problem is thinking out of the box. The problem is that the bureaucracy is such heavy there that in order to fill any of the jobs that you just talked about, you really need to have a degree in certain things. And even in some countries, which is unbelievable, you cannot, if you have an electrical engineering bachelor, you cannot do an MBA if you want to stay working in academia. You have to do something related to electrical engineering. This is something like mind-boggling to me. People jump from one thing to another. Like, for example, in that small young university that I'm working with, we really accept, we know that not everyone have the experience in STEM. They are not ready. But we cannot prevent these people from finding jobs, you know. Someone in background in music, but wanting to really change what they are doing and finding a job in the tech era can really have a chance too. But of course, they need to really be ready to work and put the effort. So this, you cannot have it in Egypt. You cannot have it in Morocco. You have to really have, like, you know, the very big scientific background in order to go into this. So I think this is something that's really not fair to the people there. You know why also? Because they are very smart and they can really fit and do things. But they are boxed.
They're in the box.
In the bureaucracy.
So true. So true. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I say something about that? Yeah. So one of the things I feel is that a lot of the models and everything for making things happen are already there. I think there's also a problem, though, with investment, because when you have these big organizations like the IFC or the World Bank, you know, and they're trying to mobilize private-public sort of monies, they need a project that's big enough so that, you know, someone, say an American investor or an investor from another country will invest there. Now, a lot of these opportunities, especially in healthcare, I feel, is really sort of a middle market opportunity. And with AI really being transformative, as people have cell phones, you know, you can do certain types of diagnoses and certain types of treatments over the phone. You can provide maternal health care by providing packages that are mailed out once you know what the person needs. But a lot of that is not happening because and I looked at a healthcare thing in Egypt, for example, that was really a middle market type of investment. So, you know, if you need like $100 million and you're reaching out to the global capital markets, it's just not there. And so I think that's where some really creative thinking has to come in, funding these kind of smaller but really transformative opportunities that would also use AI and also leapfrog everybody. So that's, yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is because it is related to the World Bank. We opened it outside
Yes.
of the United
Sorry.
States, but we need to pull it back to the United States.
Yes,
Go ahead,
yes,
Nicola, please.
Tonight, we have a new MC for our gala, and this is for a reason. The MC who has been our superstar for the past few years is going to be unable to come and participate for reasons beyond her capacities and ours as well. But irrespective, I sat yesterday with another lady, another anchor woman, and who accepted to save our neck. And I told her, thank you so much, because without you, I don't know what would have done. And she told me, you know, in a few years' time, you can have an MC through AI. And my response was very quick and maybe obnoxious. I told her, never. I think this is something that cannot happen. So my question is, in a world where AI can learn faster than human beings, should we define the word or the expression being skilled? So the expression being skilled, should it be redefined? And if so, how?
If I got your question, how we can embrace AI in everything a bit. Let me tell you one thing, that I'm living across the globe, I'm traveling everywhere. If I may say something, that before technology was a kind of only American embedded and innovation. And usually we start every innovation here in US. But if you go for the last 2-3 years, the downsizing of AI gave a tremendous headache to the US innovation, while in US, for having a model in AI cost close to $1 trillion, while the Chinese, they were just cut from everything about technology. They tried to use their best about those tiny things, and the $1 trillion becomes a kind of $5 or $10 million, which is a kind of what I call when you cut everything about those people. When you do not have this luxury, you go for downsizing on a number of things. And this mini revolution about what we call the deep seek, and in a tiny number of things, that deep seek give a big headache to all, to chips, to semiconductor, to language model, to library, to... So let me tell you one thing, and with respect with all, you will have a big surprise coming from people that you can never imagine that they can bring you such dimension. And before it was a kind of a battle between West and East, and maybe in American technology, and mostly the well-known is Chinese technology. If you go deeply the last 6 months or 9 months, now the battle it is inside China who will be the most dominant player about this, what we call downsizing of this AI. And this headache comes to the US now. In US, Amazon or others, they start to be proud about downsizing this approach, which leads to, we do not need this $1 trillion about investment. We need just to let our brain work deeply in what we do not have in luxury approach. In my mind, in this approach about what we talk about language, we have more than 100 engineers in my organization that are deeply well equipped about analyzing everything. Lately, if you imagine about the late model, you do not speak about language, you speak about dialects. You speak about what we call, if you go for one of those Chinese model, the Quen from AWS, you can generate a speech is like you talk as Lebanese language. In a way that you can never imagine that it reached this level about, like you talk in the village. It's not only what we call the modern Arabic language. And more than that, I ask my Quen, I have a message to send it to my partner in Abu Dhabi. He sent me the dialect of the Arabic language not in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, more specific, some elements. We will be surprised about number of subjects about AI, but it won't be in everywhere. The subject of language, the subject of translation. I think there is a number of categories that will be erased from our dictionary, like those that we call, they are certified to be a translator's guy from one language to another. There is a number of facts that we need to live with this AI coming. We should take care about where is AI, where is the limit of AI, but we do not need to have more than this imagination to catch this.
But just because there is a panel after us and they are really telling me that.
I just closed it.
Sorry. Okay. But just I'm going to comment very briefly on your answer.
So you took my part.
Yes, very quickly. How to be skilled. Just a minute.
Okay.
How to be skilled.
I accept.
For young students, Nehme, we will discuss this afterwards. But how to be skilled. For young students, how to be skilled is to be in the steering wheel of AI.
My question was how to redefine being skilled.
Well, how to redefine being skilled, yes. For the young people, they really have to do the hard work of being on the steering wheel of what's AI. You don't want to forget that AI is built by human. And we could be the human who are doing that. So this is one side of it. The other side is end users and how can you help you in any field, and this is something else.
Can I add 1 minute? 1 minute, sorry. Just two very good question. And I think skills is a dynamic concept. I think the young people will have a lot less problem than middle-aged people currently in the workforce. These are the ones I worry the most. And there's a big ask for big corporation, mid-size, for lifelong learning. And you'll see that in all companies in the US. You have to get certified on AI, on data privacy, and there will be at some point a reckoning, in my view, between the business leaders of the world and the government as to how to work together, investing together in continuous reskilling, maybe getting tax breaks, etc., to keep employment as vibrant.
Samia, they are really telling me to okay, well, if we don't have any time, correct?
I will finish by one. I've been asked many times, is AI surpass the human intelligence? I reply gently, which humans? If someone is lazy, it is replaceable by anything. But we can never reach 1% of our humanity with AI. I can assure you.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, I love the experiences shared. Tony Tenori, I'm a spine surgeon. I really like the experiences. As Samia mentioned something very nice, that we can Uber eat, we can, everything, but to do one application in our government takes, 3-month work and a lot of bribery and so on. So we all know AI, good, bad, and ugly, and all that experience, but it's definitely democratizing a process. The reach to the information is much easier. Before, 100 years, you have to travel to go to a meeting, take the plane or whatever, sit down to listen to somebody talking, and later on became internet, and now you can just get the information in seconds. And the same thing, access to wealth. It used to take 5 generations to become wealthy. Now you can develop a software algorithm, and overnight you're Mark Zuckerberg or another person. So why don't we? I want to give a challenge to the tech cream or tech minds. We should create a task, tech cream task force, where we can take our experiences and go meet with our governments, because we all come from governments where, third world countries, less resource governments, and we tell them, guys, these are the experiences other countries have gone through and they worked. They need the World Bank, but the World Bank doesn't come and talk to Lebanon and Syria and Egypt and tell them what to do. They need that independent force to go and tell them, we need how to digitize the government here. How can we fast process the process, certain process there, here and there. So I challenge the tech mind to create that task force to come up with recommendations, and those recommendations, you can take them to Lebanon, to Egypt, to be the liaison between, minds like this and our governments.
Thank you so much. One more question? Okay. Any other question? Yeah, please go ahead.
I'm a self-declared that's for Nicola, anti-AI, and I'm paying a tuition at Columbia for my son to study AI. I don't know why I'm doing that, but what about our IQ? Mine is shrinking for sure, not just because of age. What about our EQ, interpersonal relationships, and those are the things that worry me.
Yeah, well, I was going to say something at the comment before, that at the end, AI is not changing the job description, but it's changing the value we give to the jobs. Because at the end, you were mentioning that in this case, you will never have an AI host for the Cream Gala. But that you might have a meeting in this format will make more efficient your time. But the thing is that I think that your question is really interesting, because in this point of transitional space that we're living between the process of reducing that gap, what it's most important is to focus on how we're going to face the need of how we're going to adapt to the reality of how this affects our knowledge, our capacity to respond fast to what is happening in the world, but at the same time, how we focus on the human-centric view of things. Because at the end, we're fighting with something that is artificial and that we want to be more human than ever. So it's a way of how I believe that we must cultivate adaptability, think, or focus on critical thinking, on how we focus on the design thinking of our processes, how we make the AI a tool, but not the only response to how to fix things, but at the same time, how we keep the human essence and what it's important to us, what the value we give to things in what we're trying to accomplish on not only personally, but in our jobs opportunities, in the I don't know, in everything that we decide upon, but using it as a tool rather than just a way of doing things.
Thank you so much.